Oh, hey Nick, how are you, man?
Hey, good Ian. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for asking. Oh, okay. Well, I'm guessing you're gonna have a busy day ahead of you. So let's crack on, man. Let's crack on. Because I'm Ian. I'm from Hi-Fi Way. Obviously talking about the new album. Do have a really important question I'd like to ask you first, though, Nick, if you don't mind. It's obviously there's a lot going on in the band and that. You've done a lot of shows this year. I saw you on the Bring Me Horizon tour. Saw you on your own tour. And there was one thing that really stood out on them shows, and it's are your t-shirts too small for you? Because they keep falling off on stage.
This is definitely a running joke within the band. Yeah, look, I only started doing that this year, and the story is pretty unbelievable because it all started because I actually left my uh my shirt backstage. I tell people I forget.
Yeah.
Um, the first time it happened, I had someone backstage, one of the crew from Bring Me the Horizon, say to me, "Oh, do you I don't know, made a comment about me playing without my shirt, something." And I said, yeah, I forgot it." And the tone that I'd expressed it in made it sound like it was ironic. There was
Yeah.
some sort of sarcasm to it. Um, because of the way the arena was set up, we were running we were running to and from stage for some reason. I had to jump. I was I was in the green room warming up, and I like warming up backstage without my shirt on. And something was happening on stage, and I had to run to the stage to fix a tech issue. But then we were playing. The stage manager was making us play 5 minutes early every night,
Damn.
and by the time we'd fixed the tech issue, I needed to get back. I needed to get back to the green room to get my
Dress.
shirt,
Yeah.
and I just didn't have time to, you know, take like 5 minutes to run backstage, show all my credentials. Um, so it sounds like I'm lying, but I'm not. I actually
Wait.
forgot my shirt. It sounds so silly. It sounds so silly when I try when I try to explain it to people but that is actually what happened. So
Totally believable, Nick. Totally believable. Sure. Okay. And 'cause it seems to have happened at every show ever since. It's like, what a shock, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, just I don't know what to say. I keep forgetting my shirt.
Damn it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are happy about that. Okay. So moving on now, seriously. New album comes out on November the 8th. It's the fifth album. It's self-produced. There's been a lineup change since then as well. It's been quite a gestation period as well. Um, like what during the couple of years when all these things were happening, because like Doom Switch was released 2 years ago. Um, like, did you ever think you would actually get the album out eventually?
Yeah, I honestly we weren't thinking about writing a record at that point. When Doom Switch was written, the only thing the band was thinking about was survival,
Mhm.
right? Because at that point we were about to break up. We had no idea what the future held for us, and it wasn't until we properly found our feet when Alex joined the band. We were like, okay, we're actually ready to write a record. So you would have noticed the singles were all staggered
Mhm.
out across 2 years. Um, and that quite simply, we just didn't have the time to write a record in one fell swoop for the most part. We had to try and get as many songs written in amongst all the touring that we were doing. And I don't think like writing a record was at the front of our minds. The most of the record was written, or rather, produced and recorded in between tours within about 2 weeks. But I want to say that most of the writing was done across, the maybe year and a half after Alex had joined the band. So yeah, I'm not sure what to say about. I'm not sure what to say about. Whether we'd get to this point of releasing a record. I don't think that was at the front of our minds at the time. We were just writing as much music as we could in the amount of touring that we were doing.
I mean, obviously, you know how it's been recorded. You just mentioned there, you come off from a tour, you do 2 weeks, you go and do some more. I mean, just based on this year as an example, I mean, obviously there was Bring Me the Horizon, then you went to Europe, which included Download. Then you did your own tour over here where you had Bury Tomorrow involved. Then you've just come back from China, apparently. And then you're going off to Europe again with Bury Tomorrow. So, it's been obviously a very hectic year. Do you think, though, when you've then gone off stage and off that kind of touring cycle and hit the studio, do you think that's why this album sounds so energetic in the point, like in just right there, because you just kind of you're already battle hardened?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think so. I think it's got a large part to play. So the philosophy behind the writing in this record has actually a lot to do with how we perform it live. And there's a lot of conscious thought, or rather subconscious thought being put into that because, I'm not sure if I'd speak on behalf of the other members in the band when I say this, but I feel as though we've had this revelation especially ever since Doom Switch was written. We like to view songs. We like to view our songs as something where you're supposed to consume by watching live. So here's the analogy I use, right? When you're listening to a track through headphones, car speakers, you're listening to it from a third dimensional perspective. You're hearing things in 3D, but as soon as you take that recorded music and watch the band perform it live, it brings a sort of different energy. You're watching them perform it. There's a different type of emotion that you feel when you watch a band perform that music live. It turns it into something that's 4D. It goes from 3D to 4D, and you can feel the band expressing that music through their live performance. And some songs translate better live versus how they're written and arranged. And I think all the touring that we were doing in amongst writing this record, because we're a band that puts so much into our live performance, as soon as you take us off the plane into the studio and get us to write, I think I think you're right. A lot of that, we're still in the touring headspace. We're still in the performing headspace. So when things are being written, like I'm not even sitting on a chair while I'm writing. I'm standing up, and I believe I'm on stage sometimes. So I think this is what makes the record different from everything else we've done.
Yeah. I mean, with it being self-produced as well. Well, I know there was somebody helping you out, but for the most part, self-produced. Do you feel that gives you carte blanche to then go and experiment and do stuff? Because there are some experimental stuff on this album, which I'll come to shortly. But then at the same time, do you also feel the need to go, yeah, just step back? Like, do you have that kind of juxtaposition of what you can do?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think self-producing self-producing exposes the band's the band's raw feeling, right? For lack of a better term. Um, I can't think of an example right off the top of my head at this moment of when a band self-produces versus when they go into a studio to work with a producer. But I think when bands self-produce their records, they end up coming out sounding much more honest.
Yeah.
And I think this record's a great example of that. Look, we're not, we might not have the same track record experience as, say, like a top producer has. For example, you look at this record and the How to Survive a Funeral record, two very, very different sounds, because one's done with Drew Falk and the other one's produced at home, written, produced at home. But the one that's written, produced at home, it still has, just because we're not working with a top producer doesn't mean that, there's still this sound. We did it on Worlds Apart as well. And so far, the tracks we've released of our self-produced album, especially I want to use Doom Switching as an example. It seemed like there was a very unanimous. We had very unanimous positive feedback from that track, and I think because it's self-produced, the fans are able to feel our energy more. They're able to connect with the band much more, even though it might not be, the same well-produced and properly arranged track as an actual proper name studio producer might come out with. So,
well, I think one of the things with it being self-produced that certainly I picked up on listening to the album is probably the word you could use is probably authentic. That's not to say that
there we go.
It's not to say that other records aren't, but when you have somebody who then comes in and basically says to your baby, yeah, like, we don't need that hand and let's go and replace it with something else. You're like, well, hang on a minute. And yeah, it might sound good for radio or the record label, but you lose a sense of yourself. Whereas this you got, and again, it might be that whole thing of you come off the stage and you're already kind of in that spot, bang. And so then it is you. It's all just, and I wouldn't use the word rawness. That wasn't the word I was using at all. I used very expansive in my notes. One of the other things that was actually kind of quite intriguing is there were certain sounds on the album as well that came up in the likes of Small Town Syndrome, Ghost of Me, Oscillator, where there was kind of a I'm going to show my age here, but there was certain sounds that were like from a computer game in the 90s, and then an industrial vibe that was there that then made me think, are you guys like tapping into your childhood here and then like going,
oh yeah,
have this,
yeah, I'd say we definitely are. Yeah. Someone made a comment the other day that Man of God was, they heard Man of God for the first time and they thought it was a Prodigy track. The first 5 minutes. You're seeing this sort of resurgence of like the 90s sound come back very subtly through, there are all these bands coming through and they're in their late 20s or early 30s. And you're hearing a lot of that 90s sound come back. And I don't think it's just us. But yes, yeah, in short, yeah, we are definitely tapping into
your childhood.
childhood.
Nice. Okay. one, because I know you're busy, I'm going to ask a question which I'm not sure I'm allowed to or not, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Um, Obviously, there's a lot of things that happened in the last 4 years. Do you feel that as a band, you got shafted by a reality TV show?
Um, I think about this one sometimes. I don't think it made any difference,
Okay.
to be honest. I think that they um did we get shafted? Is this coming from what kind of context is this
Well, I mean,
coming out from? Are they
well, you were a band that was going places. You had
Mm.
that album and I thought it was a great album as well. Then a band member goes off and appears on a TV show, and it was almost like your trajectory had to stop while that happened. And then the fallout of that is, well, I don't know, COVID came along, which didn't help anybody either. But it just seemed to have been that um, you guys were a victim of a TV show, and that you.
oh okay, no. Well, no, I can safely say that there was no correlation between our momentum stopping and a band member appearing on a TV show at the time. Um, No, we got shafted because of COVID. That was the only thing that stopped us from, we just couldn't tour.
Okay.
And our record had come out like 1 or 2 months after the sort of global lockdown happened, if you want to call it that. Um, but yeah, the the band member appearing um on the TV show, uh the fact that she was on the TV show wasn't really anything to do with the band losing momentum at the
No,
time. I
fair
say
enough.
there were other things that did happen that are quite personal to the band. Like we definitely didn't like her being on the show at the time. I'm allowed to say that, but there were definitely like indirect repercussions as a result of it, but I wouldn't say the TV show itself, no, it didn't have a direct cause.
Awesome, awesome.
Mm.
All right. Well, I've got to go because I know you've got a busy day. And thank you very much for your time. The album is great.
Pleasure.
We'll have an album review very shortly for you as well. And we'll see you whenever you come back round to Adelaide.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Ian.
Take care. Thanks, Deanna.